Demolition Man, released in 1996. There's an odd detail that was changed in this film in post-production, such that the North American release is not quite the same as the European release. I hadn't seen this film since the 90s, so I was quite surprised when I watched it again recently, this time in German, and noticed a somewhat odd change from what I remembered. All references to Taco Bell in the original version have been changed to Pizza Hut, including changing the spoken dialogue, the subtitles, and even digitally superimposing the Pizza Hut logo on top of the original Taco Bell logo, although, side note, they missed a few here and there if you're really paying attention. At first I thought I was going crazy and I was just remembering the movie incorrectly, but some of the logo changes are quite poorly done, such that it's very obvious that they've been superimposed in editing. So, what gives? Well, it turns out that Taco Bell was not very well known in Europe at the time, and in fact, still isn't terribly well known in many European countries today. So the producers decided to change to a more recognizable brand for the European release of the film to reduce confusion in those countries. Interesting side note, both Burger King and McDonald's were approached for this product placement, but they both refused as they didn't want their brand to appear in an R-rated film. The film went on to great box office success and gave Taco Bell quite a boost in the late 90s, so I guess they got the last laugh. But let's get back onto topic. After all, we're here to talk about translation changes in films and TV shows, not advertising changes. In the film, if you haven't seen it, Sylvester Stallone's character is transported a few decades into the future and is teamed up with Sandra Bullock's character, who has an infatuation with things from the late 20th century, which was before she was born. Sandra Bullock's character occasionally tries to use 1990s slang, but often gets it wrong with comical results. Let's take a look at a couple of quick examples, along with their German translation. Such reckless abandonment! Looks like there's a new shepherd in town. That's sheriff. Sandra Bullock wants to say there's a new sheriff in town, quoting old cowboy movies from the 20th century, but in English she accidentally says there's a new shepherd in town, which would have a very different meaning. This joke was able to be translated quite literally into German, as the word for shepherd in German is Schäfer, which is also fairly close to sheriff, and the word sheriff has been imported from English and would be understandable to a German person. Ich werde jetzt darunter gehen, ich werde Phoenix finden, dann schmeiße ich ihn wieder in den Knast. Also wollen Sie nur mitkommen oder wollen Sie mich verhaften? Na schön, ich komme mit. Jetzt blasen wir den Kerl ein. Weg. Wir blasen diesen Kerl weg. Meinetwegen. This is getting a bit less family-friendly, but here, Sandra Bullock's character is trying to say, let's go blow this guy away, again referring to old 20th century action movie terminology, but she accidentally says, let's go blow this guy, which has a fundamentally different meaning, causing Sylvester Stallone to immediately correct her. Interestingly, it seems that this dirty joke was cleaned up a bit in German, as einblasen means to whisper softly into someone's ear rather than something else. It's an equally inappropriate thing to say in reference to fighting a bad guy, so the joke still works, but maybe not quite on the same level as the original English. So, there's a quick look at a 90s classic. The German translation was otherwise pretty straightforward and unremarkable, other than to note that again, just like with Chronicles of Riddick, they had a hard time finding a German voice actor who sounds like the main character, who has a pretty distinctive voice, you know what I'm saying? Adrian!